Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and we are pleased to have you all here at our Coffee Connect session. And today we have our very special guest with us, who is the founder of the Sarvodya Collective, Miss Pooja Sharma. And we are so pleased to have you here, Miss Pooja. And Pooja is the founder of the Sarvodya Collective and also Inclusive Dunya. And she is deeply passionate about creating an inclusive and equal opportunities in the world through her work and her art. Please tell us something about yourself, Pooja.
Hi, thank you for having me, first of all. Like you said, the top line introduction is that I'm the founder of the Sarvodya Collective, and Inclusive Dunya is one of our key projects
Right,
to build awareness.
right.
Um, yeah, so I've been running this organization for about 2 years, and our primary purpose is to build awareness on the issues of
Mm-hmm.
intellectual and developmental disabilities and most of the ecosystem by creating that awareness. Because
Right.
somebody who is in that ecosystem, you probably realize it's a lot of hard work, and it is a very resource-strapped
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem that's primarily parent-led. Um,
Right,
so building awareness and with the objective of cultivating inclusion, we kind of
right.
work on that. Um,
Got it.
so, like I said, I've been running Sarvodaya for a year and a half now, and
Right.
the organization came out of an awareness campaign that I ran to mark my 40th in 2020. And that's when I realized that, despite having been a sibling, so I am a sibling to my elder brother Vishal, who has intellectual disability, but despite having been familiar with the issue and being sensitive to
Right.
it and the needs of the sector,
Mm-hmm.
it is when I was running that awareness campaign that I actually realized that alongside all the solutions and the packets of good work that's happening, there is a need for like an overarching campaign to cultivate awareness about the issue itself.
Got it.
Because I've come concluding, but how do you actually sort of make sure that inclusion happens? So that's the background to the work. I'll
Mm-hmm.
stop now.
Right, that sounds really productive. And I saw some interesting videos that Inclusive Dunya has made, particularly in terms of providing employment to the intellectually challenged young adults. Would you like to showcase some light on that? Because that particular element resonates so much with what we are doing at SFT. So I would
Uh,
like you to speak few lines about that video that you created and that the one that we shared on our page.
right on the Social Justice Day.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. I will talk about that. So, just as context with Inclusive Dunia, which is the platform that you're referring to, it is a separate account on Instagram. People can
Right.
go and follow the account to see what we do over there. We started that account last year, and really that was a response. When we were running awareness campaigns the previous 2 years, people would say. Okay, so I get there is an issue and it's not right, but what can I do? So
Mm-hmm.
all the efforts that we put out are really showcasing examples of what people can do in their individual capacities,
Right.
whether they want to be involved, whether it's a one-time decision or otherwise. So the video that you're referring to was something that we released on the Social Justice Day. The theme for this day was cultivating more um, inclusion via employment,
Mm-hmm.
fighting non-discrimination against employment. And there
Right.
we shared data around how, despite there being reservations and quota, there are very few PWDs who actually with disabilities who actually end up in employment.
Mm-hmm.
And there could be a variety of reasons, and it's a fairly complex factor. But even kind of saying that, what happens when so I we can you can maybe share the link to that video again for the audience over here. But what we were
Of
really
course, I
talking about
will.
is that that by not providing employment opportunities, it kind of perpetuates the cycle of poverty and the lack of social justice. And so therefore it
Right.
is important to also kind of think about, that is one element of inclusion, and it's important to think about that. And we wanted to, like with a lot of our work, we wanted to spotlight that as an issue and spotlight that as an issue with some good data.
Exactly. So that was one beautiful video that we also shared, and it resonates totally.
Thank
Like
you.
that video sort of explained what we do at SFC, like in a crisp manner, and it was such a lovely video, Pooja.
I'm
Apart
glad
from
you
that,
liked
I
it.
would want you to showcase us and highlight the issues that we face at schools, workplace, and society as a whole in terms of being inclusive and in terms of being non-inclusive at times.
Um, So, showcasing issues that we face, I think one very simple way to put it is that if you were to stop and maybe take 30 seconds to think about, all of these three aspects that you talked about, school,
Hmm.
employment, and society, uh, who do we know? Who do we
Right,
know despite, do our kids go to schools, inclusive schools? Very often. The law
right.
requires schools to be inclusive. So, even the schools that position themselves as inclusive, they're
Hmm.
not the only ones that are required to be inclusive. But when we think about who's going to those schools and do we actually see kids with neurodiverse needs in those
Right,
schools
right.
graduating? So not just
Correct.
coming in at the front end, but also graduating from the school and kind of going through the classes. We really don't. And the second thing that you mentioned is workplace. I mean, all of us go to work. Like we work in a different sector now, but if you were to think
Right.
about, we see people with neurodiverse needs in the workplace, probably in the canteen.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean that says it all. So even now, when we actually talk about where folks could be employed, it's very very specific. They're in the hospitality industry, or they're when people think about employing talent with autism, because of some certain particular traits, they actually think they could be good with data, technology, analysis, those kind of roles. And it's actually
Right.
very heartening to see those moves happening,
Hmm.
but a lot more needs to happen. So we're moving in the right direction, but we probably need to pick up pace over there. And then finally, is
Right.
society, which I think is probably the largest of those problems, because not only is it it's what perpetuates that cycle, that when we don't see people with diverse needs around us, we don't get exposed to an issue, we don't understand an issue, we don't know how to engage with an issue, and therefore there
Right.
is this othering that happens. So, if we go to a movie hall, do we actually see people over there? When we're traveling, do we, how many people do we see?
Hmm.
Are these day-to-day experiences accessible, physically, infrastructurally, and even otherwise? Like there are a lot of people who say, "हम तो हमेशा सब जगह लेके जाते हैं जहाँ party पे जाते हैं." But what conversations happen?
But we
When
rarely
people are,
see them. We rarely see them.
we rarely see them, but even when we see them,
Right.
we actually meaningfully engage. But like, how many times do you actually see somebody go beyond, "हाँ भाई क्या हाल है?" Like
Uh,
able to have, like, you and I are having this conversation for the last 10
right.
minutes. Does a 10-minute conversation organically happen with somebody who did not grow up with a person with
Right.
intellectual disability, neurodiversity? It
True.
probably doesn't. And that is because most people do not understand the issue, and they don't understand the issue not because they've chosen to, but they've not been exposed to. So I think
Right.
the question, I think, was how do you change that? Wasn't that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, of course. So that's where I think inclusive dunya comes into the picture. That how do we change that, and how do we educate the society about changing the perspective about it? And what
Hmm.
are the effective tools that you are currently using and you would suggest the world to use in terms of educating them? Because I think you would also resonate to that fact that through education we can change the world, and through education we can change the perspective of the people around us. So what are the tools and measures that you would like to suggest in order to be more empathetic towards the needs of the society and to cater to the society in an inclusive manner?
Hmm. Hmm. Um, so this is an interesting question with multiple layers. So let's talk about this. How do
Right,
you um, like one of the things you said was, how do you cultivate empathy?
right,
You know,
right,
when
right,
when we have conversations with people about how do you cultivate empathy for disability?
right.
So examples are given like of, the locomotor issue here. So, you kind of make somebody go through an entire day with,
Mm-hmm.
blindfolded, their leg tied up so that they do not have access to the use of, whatever faculty
Right.
that's needed. With the sort of issues that we work on in our sector, that's
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily possible because you're not limiting physical access or that physical convenience, but how do you cultivate that empathy? Then you kind of go like one level forward, saying everyone knows what is the result of that lack of inclusion.
Right. Right.
Somebody feels a certain way. So maybe, you cultivate the empathy by connecting to that emotion. But, if you ever felt like that you were not included at any point, what did someone do to include you? Or how did that make you feel? So kind of tapping
Mm-hmm.
into that, both the, feeling left out, but also, feeling included is probably how one cultivates empathy. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
something that they kind of working with. The second thing, if you kind of think about concretely, what does that look like? I think
Right.
that um, I mean, the first step is obviously educating. कि अगर
Mm-hmm.
आपने, if you're not exposed to something and you do not understand it, then you won't even know how to engage with it. So
True.
the first
True.
step is education. And then second, I very much think is creating opportunities to engage in a meaningful manner
Right.
and over a period of time. So,
And
whether it is
how do we go about it, Pooja? I mean, what are the ways in which we can create meaningful opportunities for them to foster and excel?
Hmm. So I mean, there are different levels to it. So, something can be, I mean, volunteering is a really, really good way to actually engage with an
Mm-hmm.
issue. Whether it is saying I will host a Diwali Mela in
Right.
my office and kind of, um, once a year engage
Mm-hmm.
deeply if you are promoting the cause. Or it could be something like saying, I'm actually going to be a buddy to someone. Because very often, PWIDDs or near arrivals folk do not necessarily have access to friendship and belonging in the same way that others could. So could you actually step
Right.
up and say, every fortnight I'm going to give 2 weeks to get online and play chess or go for a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
That's another way. Third is, do you, so in terms of engagement, I actually think that at the front end or, upstream, ensuring that more people end up in schools, more people with diverse needs end up in schools is very, very important to ensuring that we have a sensitized generation that's kind of coming out the other end. So
Right.
that's the thing that I really think we all need to work on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. That sounds great. I mean, the buddy system and the having those stalls. I mean, that sounds like a really great idea, and I think every person should contribute a little bit to the cause and be more inclusive about welcoming. I mean, similar things which we are doing this Holi is we have created hampers made by these young adults, and we
Hmm.
are also showcasing it. I mean, we had our fair at the American Embassy School, but we are
Okay.
looking forward to more opportunities and people to broadcast the beautiful things that they're making in terms
Hmm.
of making them more accessible and which will create a regular work for them. So that is our
Hmm.
main aim, not just on Holi and Diwali, but all through
Hmm.
the year. Because do
Hmm.
we get our salaries only on Holi or Diwali? No, we
No.
don't.
No. No.
So,
But it's
so it
so
should be the same for them.
absolutely. I'm sorry I interrupted.
It's
But
totally fine,
but I was
Pooja.
going to say that one really good example within our sector that I like is atypical advantage because what that's doing as an organization is that they're creating a platform to take it away from like a one-time
Right,
individual leg to
right.
building market linkage to if I want to buy something that is created or if I want to employ somebody a talent
Mm-hmm.
or hire a talent that is neurodiverse, then that is the
Right.
platform to go. And not just
Mm-hmm.
neurodiverse, I think they focus on all disabilities. But I think it's brilliant that they're working as an organization to create that platform and market linkage. But we need more of that.
Yes, of course.
We definitely need more of that. So, when where we put our money, like that phrase, putting our money where our mouth is, like,
Mm-hmm.
were we? Like, for a lot of organizations, whether it is making masalas or, putting stuff together, like this is brilliant cafe in Bombay, Cafe Harpan. You guys do such amazing stuff. Other organizations like Devakil does really, really brilliant
Mm-hmm.
stuff. With Matis are Muskanti Matis. Like, if we actually were to say we're going to put our custom where, or, where our money, where with
Right.
products that are actually built with by or
Mm-hmm.
developed by people with disabilities, then that's one really good way to, one good and light touch way to actually support the cause. But I do think that people need to, the close, we need to create more closer allyship as well,
Mm-hmm.
not just purchasing stuff, but also closer allyship, like, supporting. For example, if somebody is like, what you said, it doesn't happen only on Holi, but can we actually create a calendar of events like this?
Right.
Because a lot of the goods that you, like, if you have a bakery unit, everyone consumes something, right?
Hmm.
So in the in corporate say today's the big sale day, the first Tuesday of every month. Shaurya
Hmm.
Foundation baked goods come in, and everyone spends like whatever 100 rupees to buy a slice of cake or something
True.
at 3 o'clock
True.
in the
True.
afternoon. That's one way, and that's actually a meaningful way to also expose corporate people on a regular basis.
Right. Right. Right.
Just an
Yeah,
idea.
I mean, what we lack is the regular intake of our goods. I mean, we do really good on Holi, we do really good on Rakhi, and we do really good on Diwali. But what about the other days of the year? So
Yeah,
I think
no,
ideas like these can make it a more inclusive way in terms of giving them regular sort of income generation sources.
absolutely, absolutely. And there's a lot of like stuff that we spend on, like, consumables, like stuff that we eat, stuff that we, diaries that we write in, gift
Mhm.
packs that we take to places, and if they were more easily available, whether it is online or through, like these stores, then
Right.
then it just makes it easier. So even as a sector, we need to make it accessible.
Of
We need to
course,
sort
of
of look
course.
last minute. Yeah.
Right. And I would like you to give a final message on inclusion to our lovely audiences that we have here.
A final message in inclusion. Um, I do think inclusion comes from, I keep saying inclusion comes from awareness or education, but really, the thing that flips it is acceptance, an open heart and an open mind and an eagerness to learn. Because when we talk about diversity, all of us are diverse. Like you and I are sitting in this conversation and we are very different. I'm different from my sibling.
Of course,
I'm
of
different from the
course.
person that I sat with in the class. And knowing that diversity is not like neurotypicals and neurodiverse,
Mm-hmm.
but at every level, and there is an acceptance that we exercise on a daily basis anyway. If we were
Right.
to sort of widen that circle and say we will exercise that acceptance more generally for other needs as well, then
Mm-hmm.
then that leads to inclusion, an open heart and an open mind, a well-informed mind.
Ah, right. That sounds
Yeah.
so lovely. An open heart and an open mind leads to a
And a well-informed
well-prepared
mind.
mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that sounds great. I think we will look forward for more such collaborations with you, Pooja. It was really an interesting conversation with you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you and good luck. Good luck for the holy wares.
Yes, thank you so much,
All right.
Pooja.
Okay,
Goodbye.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.